All right, welcome everyone to today's event. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and I'm pleased to be hosting this session all about Xpertdoc Smart Flows and document flow automation for D365. Our presenter today is Erwin Buggenhout, and he will be taking the stage in just a moment here. I just want to remind everyone that we do welcome your questions today. Look for the Q&A block to the right of the main presentation area, and feel free to enter those at any time. So without any further delay, Erwin, I am going to hand things off to you.
Thank you. You can hear me loud and clear?
We can.
Okay, brilliant. Okie dokie. So for all of you east of the Atlantic, good afternoon. For all of you west of the Atlantic, good morning. And I'm so happy to have you in this session today. We're going to talk about document flow automation. So everything that has to do with creating documents, delivering documents, and storing documents, and starting that entire process from Microsoft Dynamics 365. The reason we do that is that I work for a company called Xpertdoc Technologies Inc., and I'm a product manager over there. We are totally into document flow automation. That's what we do, and there's about 40 of us and growing, right? And we have about 100 partners that are basically reselling our software all over the place. And as you can see, we like to row a boat from time to time. Right. So if you look at the capabilities in Microsoft Dynamics 365 today and Microsoft Dynamics CRM back in the old days, the capabilities around generating documents, basically you have two things. There is, on the one hand, you have SQL Server Reporting Services, and on the other hand, you have the out-of-the-box Microsoft Word document generation. The older versions of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, you also had something called Mail Merge, which was, I think, more a client-side operation to generate documents. But nowadays, you have these two options. So SQL Server Reporting Services and out-of-the-box Microsoft Word document generation. It's good that there are a couple of options around document generation, but both of these options have their limitations. If you look at SQL Server Reporting Services, SSRS, then you'll see that it's built for developers. It's not too easy to create your templates over there. And it's mainly a reporting tool rather than a real document generation tool. If you look at the out-of-the-box Microsoft Word document generation, then you'll see that it has a lot of limitations in terms of data collection. So I think the most important one is that you can only go one level of relationship deep in the hierarchy of entities and related entities. So that's really a problem if you want to go from a quote record, for instance, to not only the line items but also data from the actual product records underneath, and maybe go one or two levels lower or deeper in the hierarchy. You really have problems to get there. Also in terms of template design, conditional content and stuff like that. There are probably ways to achieve a couple of things, but it's all pretty cumbersome in terms of process. Okay, and also in terms of what you can do for document storage and delivery, you're pretty limited in what you can do. Good thing there are alternatives, and obviously the one that I want to talk about today is Xpertdoc Smart Flows for Dynamics 365. It's a tool that used to be called Xpertdoc. It's today actually just 1 year ago, exactly today 1 year ago, Xpertdoc was acquired by a Canadian company called Xpertdoc Technologies Inc. And we rebranded the solution to Xpertdoc Smart Flows. So if you are familiar with the name Xpertdoc from more than a year ago, then we're talking about the same solution, which has been rebranded and basically not only rebranded but really rebuilt. So it's really a next generation solution here. So if you look at it and compare it to the two out-of-the-box options that I just mentioned there, then you'll see that Xpertdoc Smart Flows is in fact easy to use, easy to manage, but yet powerful and easy to integrate. All things that you cannot really claim of the other two solutions that I just mentioned there. So easy to use in a sense that you can easily generate, store, deliver documents in just a couple of clicks. And you can do it from all sorts of devices, also from just from your browser. Doesn't matter which interface you're using, the web UI or the new unified interface. Doesn't matter. And you can also do it from your mobile phone if you want to. It's powerful. It's easy to manage, but it's powerful. In terms of defining your data, you don't have to write complex fetch XML queries or anything. It's just grabbing your data, just pointing and clicking the entities and the fields you want to include. Also, your process, your flow, your delivery process, and your storage process of the documents that you want to send out. It's pretty straightforward. You just drag and drop the blocks in their right position to model a process. And then also the template design itself is pretty straightforward. We have an add-in for Microsoft Word that can help you do all of that. I'll show you all these things later today in a demo session that we're going to do. It's easy to integrate. We have a turnkey integration with Dynamics. It comes as a managed solution that you just import, and the setup of the server component is also just next, and that's it. Okay, so you can run it on Azure in SaaS mode, or you can have a private cloud deployment if you want to, and if you really need to, we can always run it on premises as well. So turnkey integrations, I mentioned that, not only with Dynamics, but also with SharePoint, DocuSign, Certify, and other e-signing providers there, Google Cloud Print, and so on and so forth. We also have a good API, a REST API, so if you want to start processes from code, you can perfectly do so. The solution also comes with a workflow assembly for Microsoft Dynamics workflows, so you can start a smart flow from a Dynamics workflow also if you want to. Good. So what is it capable of doing? How does it help you? What are the quick wins? Basically, if you look at it, well, obviously it accelerates the document creation processes. Instead of having to create documents manually and copying and pasting, it's just one clicks or two click actions, and you just basically get your documents out there. It leverages the data from across and beyond Microsoft Dynamics. Not only your Dynamics data, you can also go beyond Dynamics, grab data that's living in other systems, and really take advantage or use that data, bring it together into a document, and then deliver that document in a very consistent way. So that's the third point there. You just ensure consistency on different levels, by the way, not only the content of the document, but also the way in which you deliver the document and the way in which you store those documents. Okay, and you empower business users and reduce dependence on IT. As I mentioned earlier on, if you look at the out-of-the-box solutions like SSRS, for instance, there you definitely need somebody from IT to step in to create those templates, and that's not the case if you're using Xpertdoc SmartFlows. So you wouldn't be the first one using the solution. Quite a lot of references all over the place. I think we, at this point, have about 600 customers using it, either SmartFlows or the predecessor of SmartFlows being Xpertdoc. And I think if you look at the two solutions, I think right now it's about 50-50. I think almost half of the Xpertdoc users have moved on to SmartFlows already. We also have pretty good partners. I think the major players in terms of the Dynamics ecosystem are in fact using and deploying the solution to their customers. So let's have a look at it. I'm going to basically take you through a couple of end user scenarios first, and then we're going to have a look at the admin side of things, and then I'm also going to open up the Word add-in, the template builder add-in for Microsoft Word, and show you a couple of things there. So let me get out of this presentation and let's get into demo mode. Okie dokie. So A typical scenario for smart flows would be a sales scenario where you as a salesperson would create a quotation, and quotation is typically something that is a time-consuming thing to just make sure you have all the products right and get it all in the document and deliver it in the right way and so on and so forth. Okay. Using smart flows, you can really speed up that process considerably. Okay. You can start the procedure from any list view or any detail view that you want to use, and pretty much like you would click the Word templates button over here, there's a Smart Flows button over there that you can click to start a process from a list view. So let's do that. Just click it, and that would open up the Smart Flows, the Xpertdoc Smart Flows interface, where you would be able to select a template or a flow that you want to run for the record that is selected. I just selected one record from a list view here, but I could have selected multiple records at the same time and run a flow for multiple items. Okay. We have a couple of those. Quote with external data and user input is one. Quote with approval process. Let me just go for the approval process first, and let's have a look what that does. I can actually click it, and it gives some indication as to what this flow will actually do for me. It starts an approval process for quotes higher than 50,000 euros. And for other quotes, we will directly deliver them to the potential customer using DocuSign as an e-signing provider. Now, let's have a look at the quotation. It's a 44,625 euros quotation, so that's less than 50,000. So what we would expect if I would run it for this record is that it would go to DocuSign straight away. So let's have a look. Let's do that. So I click it. It's going to retrieve some quote data from Dynamics, generate the document, send it to DocuSign, and that's basically what it does. So there we go. We have the document that has been generated, and it's been delivered via DocuSign to the potential customer that is in this quotation record. Now that is in fact René Valdez. Let me just refresh over here. There you go. René has received an email now from DocuSign that contains the document. So let's have a look at that. So if you're already using DocuSign or another e-signing provider, we can integrate with those e-signature providers, and that would in fact allow you to reuse your existing subscription in combination with Xpertdoc Smart Flows. So we have this quotation for 8 Corporation. It opens up with a welcome letter, as you can see. What else do we have in there? We have the typical quotations things like the table of line items, of course, some subtotals, discounts, everything, and then the calculation of the grand total over here. By the way, these fields, or these table rows rather, the subtotal row and the discount row, they're actually in conditional boxes. It only show the rows provided that there actually is a discount. So you don't want to scream out to your customer, "Hey, I'm giving you a 0% discount." So that's not what you want to do, of course, as a salesperson. So you can perfectly hide those using a conditional box. Scrolling down, we have some product details, which we pick up from the product records in Dynamics that are linked to this quotation. And well, we keep on scrolling, or we can just take it over here to the place where we need to sign the quotation, right? So this is René Valdez signing our quotation. Adopt and sign, finish, and that's basically it. Okay, so I'm going to skip this message from DocuSign over here. So basically what's happening right now is that Xpertdoc Smart Flows will pick up basically on that event. The event being that René Valdez has placed her signature underneath that document on the DocuSign side. Okay, so we're waiting now for a second for Xpertdoc Smart Flows to pick up on that event that's happening right now, and now it says that it successfully ran the entire flow. So What happened? It picked up the generated document and the signed document after that. It's picked up that signed document. It's created a note in Dynamics against the record that we originally started from, and it's kind of attached the document to that note. So let's have a look at the record. So here's the 8-item solar code record. It has, if I go to the details, it has a timeline, and as you can see, there's a note, and the note says, "Good news, the customer has signed the quotation. Please find the signed document attached." So if we open up that document, then here it is. Then we'll see that this is the DocuSign document that we just signed. So there's René's signature over there. Okie dokie. If I were to run the same flow now on the other quotation that I have in there, which is a larger one, so it's the 58,000. That's obviously that's more than 50,000. The 85,000 euro quotation. If I would start the flow from there, so I'm just going to run the same flow here, the quote with approval process. If I run that same flow, this is a quotation higher than 50,000, so this is going to start an approval process. And so rather than sending this to DocuSign, we're sending it to our account manager for approval first. So if I look at who our account manager is, that's Jim Cassidy. So let's have a look. We created an email now to Jim Cassidy. There you go, from me to Jim Cassidy, saying please approve this quotation, hi, and then please approve attached quotation. So that's our account manager who can now have a look at this quotation for 8-item Corporation and approve it, and then get on with the process. Okay, so that's a typical quote process that many of the Xpertdoc customers are in fact using in their production environments to get their sales quotations out there quickly. Now, typically, if you look at quotations, they pick up a lot of data from Dynamics, of course, around the line items and everything. But in many cases, additional data needs to be fetched some way, somehow. And that additional data is not always residing within Microsoft Dynamics. It can be in product management systems or other sort of product lifecycle databases and everything. It can be all over the place. So basically, if you want to include additional data, I'm going to go to the other quotation to demonstrate this. If you want to include additional data, like for instance data from outside, from systems outside of Dynamics, or user input that is provided during the document generation process, you can use Smart Flows for that as well. So let's have a look. I have the other flow available over there, which is the quote with external data and user input. Let's run that one. So basically, this flow is similar to the other one, but instead of just doing stuff after you click the button to start the process, it's actually asking questions. And so we have a question over here that basically is asking the end user for an alternative text for the first paragraph. So let's maybe type something like, "I am very happy to send you this quotation." So there you go. Once again, it's asking for these product descriptions that we pick up from the product records. You can either include them or exclude them in this case. And there's a section with terms and conditions, and you can choose whether you go for the long version, medium version, or short version of that section. Let's go for the short version here in this case. Hit next, and then it's going to go on and collect some user data, if I'm not mistaken yet. Generate a document, create an email, because we're emailing this one out to the customer immediately. If you look at the email, you probably saw the email that we just saw that we just sent to our account manager, which was a very simple email, just a plain text email. Now, in this case, what you can see is that the email is very rich in terms of content. It has the full table of product line items for our quotation. It has the calculated discounts and everything with the same conditional rows in there. It gives you an overview as to the effective due date of the quotation and everything. Okay, and it still has the attachment, of course, with the document that we just created. Okay, this is all HTML content. Don't be mistaken here. It looks like the picture is not included. Actually, the picture is included. If I open the preview up over here, you can see that we have a picture of the sender here in the email as well, and obviously it has the attachment. So let's have a look at that email attachment. So there you go, price quotation. It's looking very similar, of course. So same opening paragraph, but the first paragraph that we just changed there, I am very happy to send you this quotation, shows up on the cover letter. Okay, scrolling on down, what we see in here now is an overview of our line items, just like you saw in the other quotation that we did earlier on, the one with the approval process. But here in this case, actually we bring in external data. We bring in external data coming from a product database that contains information around the color, dimensions, the vendor of the products in this quotation. And it also indicates whether or not there is sufficient stock of the product in question. So you can just simply map items from different sources, bring them all together, or you can also use those different data points within conditions that you set in your document template. Okay. So what we did over here, the condition that we put in over here is basically to look at a field called quantity in stock and compare that field to the quantity field of the line item coming from the quotation in Dynamics. And then depending on which field is the highest or has the highest value, we either print sufficient stock or insufficient stock. And if it's insufficient stock, we're going to print it in red as well. Same things over here in terms of the quantities and the discounts, or the totals and the discounts rather. We said yes to the questions. You want to put in those product specs, so we see the spec sheets. There we go. And as we scroll on down, we'll get to the general terms and conditions page where it says short version because that was the version that we selected. Obviously, it doesn't have to say short version, but just to indicate that this is a short version of that paragraph or that section, we just printed short version in there. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea of what the quotations could look like, how you would bring in that external content, how you would include user input in the process of creating those documents. Typical question that I get from time to time is what the reason would be to grab user input during the document generation process, because obviously you can put all the data into your Dynamics forms, of course, all the values that you need. But typically, the user input is used for data that is relative to that one instance of the document that you want to produce. So if you, for instance, would choose to create a document as a draft, or to create a document as that contains certain pieces or leaves out other pieces, well, then basically those are the kind of questions that you would ask in such a form, in such a smart flows form, rather than in your CRM form. Everything that has to be kept with the CRM records, that has to be stored, that is relevant information that you really need to capture in your CRM system. That, of course, it's a better idea to have that data in your CRM system. Okie dokie, so that's typical sales process, sales application of the solution. If you look at other scenarios away from quoting, then you can think of management reporting. You see a lot of customers using SmartFlows also for management reporting purposes, like for instance, reports on accounts and so on and so forth. So you can think of things like an opportunity report, for instance, for an account. So selected an account over here, 8 click Smart Flows. We're on the account entity now instead of the opportunity or the code entity. And as you can see, you see different flows now. So depending on where you are, the context where you are in Dynamics, you see different options in your Smart Flows uh, Smart Flows execution panel over here. So we have the option here to create an account welcome letter, but the one that I was referring to is the opportunities report. And let's run that one and have a look at it. So we're generating a document, and it's password protected, as you can see. So I'm going to open it up. And it's password protected. This is a management report, so we don't want everybody to see that report. So there's a password over there. And there you go. This is the document that we have produced right now. It is giving you an overview of the account. Where is the account situated? What's the annual revenue? What's the employee count? And which contacts do we have? How are they subdivided by gender here in this case? Say that we have a magazine that we send out. How many people are subscribed to that magazine by gender? Okay. What's the opportunity revenue percentage by status of the opportunity over here? What does all of that look like in terms of revenue that we have generated from this customer? And then we have an overview here of the totals, the sums of and the counts of the number of opportunities that we have open, or that we have won, or that we have lost for this specific account. This kind of information, this just a one pager on an account, gives you a good overview of what you have for the account, including all of the charts and everything. It's not using predefined chart pictures that we pick up from Dynamics or whatever. It's generating those charts by itself, and the setup of that template is very, very straightforward. I did this one in like an hour or so. It's all done within the template builder, the Xpertdoc template builder add-in for Microsoft Word. I'm going to show you that later on. It's very, very straightforward to do all that. So that's yet another application, typical use of Xpertdoc Smart Flows, where management reporting is basically the purpose of the solution. Also for marketing, say that you just simply want to send out a letter to this account, say a welcome letter, so like for instance for an onboarding process or something like that. You can do so as well. So we can generate that account welcome letter. And it's going to just create a nice letter. It's not only going to create it, it's also going to store it in SharePoint. So if I click link here to SharePoint, it will take us to the SharePoint environment related to this account in question, and it will show us the letter that we just produced. Okay, so here we are. It's right in SharePoint. If you go back to the account in question, open it up, you'll see that if I go to the related document, if I can find those documents. Where do we have the document? There you go. This will open up the SharePoint document location. It will have that welcome letter that we just produced right next to the record in Dynamics. But this is actually referring to the record in SharePoint, or to the document in SharePoint. Okay, so that's more of a marketing scenario where you would send out a letter. We also see a lot of customers actually use our tool to populate emails, to send out emails, and rather than generate documents that go in attachments, just use it to populate the body of the emails. Obviously, it's not an email marketing tool. You might be interested in looking at Click Dimensions and other tools that are available in the market if you really want to do email marketing starting from Microsoft Dynamics. And I think Dynamics is a very good native solution now as well for email marketing and marketing automation. But if you're not really into the heat map tracking stuff and so on and so forth, we just want to get messages that are very much um, personalized and contain a lot of data that's coming from Dynamics and maybe other sources around it, then you can perfectly do so with SmartFlows. So that's a marketing perspective. And we also see a lot of customers, and that's going to be my final scenario that I show you from an end user's perspective. We also have quite a few customers who use it from a field service perspective. So let me just take it to the from the sales hub to the service hub over here, or as it is called right now, field service, so the field service app. And let's take it to a work order here. So there you go. So I have a work order where something is related to a case where you have issues with solar panels that have been damaged by a hailstorm. And then basically what we're going to go and do is generate a report for an intervention where we actually went in and replaced, well, inspected and replaced solar panels on top of a roof. So let's have a look at that. So basically we're starting the process from the work order, and the idea is that our service technician has executed the entire task, executed the entire intervention, and then creates a document and lets the customer sign off on that intervention report. So let's have a look. Let's generate it and present it to the other person. And the thing is here that we're using DocuSign again as a mechanism to have the document e-signed. But instead of sending an email, in this case, we basically generate a link, and you can click the link, open it up, and then the idea is that you do this, for instance, on a mobile device like a tablet or some other kind of handheld device, and that you pass it on from here to the person who needs to sign the report. So this is the report. We have some work order details over here, telling you what happened here. So spend 10 minutes on replacing that one solar panel, 20 cells, then 20 minutes on the 40 cells, and then another 20 minutes on assessment of the damage. And there you go. So there's some cost involved as well, and you can sign off here if you want to. Okay, there you go. Nevertheless has signed, and we can continue the process. And as a matter of fact, this is going to take you back to the SmartFlow that is waiting for the event once again to pick up on it. And you probably remembered last time around we just created a note in Dynamics and added the signed document to the note. In this case, we're going to take it one step further. Instead of creating a note, we're going to go straight to SharePoint and save the signed document to the SharePoint document location related to the record in Dynamics that we started the process from. In this case, that was the work order record. So we have it right here. It's called Intervention Report, and then the case number with it's a PDF, as you can see, and it's stored in SharePoint in that folder. But I can take you to the SharePoint document location from here. If I take it to Related and then go to Documents, you're going to see that it's right here. So there you are. This is the intervention report. This is the signed one that we just completed, that I just signed over here. Okay, so these are all end user scenarios, different kind of areas in which we see customers use Xpertdoc SmartFlows as a way to generate documents and deliver documents and store documents. So document flow automation, as we call it. Thing that I haven't really shown you at this point is that you can fully automate the process by means of a workflow. So SmartFlows comes with a workflow assembly, so that you can actually start a SmartFlow from within Microsoft Dynamics workflow, and then you can wait for the flow to execute and just pick up on the results. Okay. Right, so that's the end user point of view. What I like to do for the rest of the session, or for the rest of the demo part of the session, is take you through 2 other perspectives on smart flows. And it's going to be, the first perspective is going to be the one of the administrator who sets up a couple of things before the end user can start generating their documents and running their flows. And then the second point of view, or the final point of view of this session, would be the point of view of the template designer, who is really doing the magic stuff inside the templates. Okay, but before we do so, I'm going to close a couple of windows because I have so many windows open at this point, and that may be confusing. So let's keep that one open. Okie dokie. So let's have a look. So from within my work order, what I can do is actually go to the SmartFlows app. So for the administrators in the room, SmartFlows comes with a managed solution for Microsoft Dynamics that you just can plug into your org, and then it just basically works. That's how it works. And what it contains is really a couple of buttons and everything that you saw. You saw that SmartFlows button that you have in the web UI and also in the unified interface. I've been using the unified interface in this session. It also comes with this entity, the SmartFlows entity, where you can actually go to the project console that you run, and where you have the SmartFlows configuration record that actually tells you what your license is and how you're connected to a SmartFlows project on the SmartFlows server. So that's that. Okay. What else is in there? Well, a couple of security roles. So there's the administrator role, there's the designer role, and there's a user role. As a cascading system, there's also a workflow executor role, by the way. But there's a cascading system. As an administrator, you can do basically everything. As an end user, the only thing is that you can do is basically run flows. So you won't be able to access all of this. But here we go. We're going to go to the project console. And there you see the logic of the application. So basically what you need to do first is create some data sets that it basically point which data you want to, or point out which data you want to collect. Then the next thing is that you map that data into templates. And if you have data and you have templates, you can create documents and you can create flows in which you generate, deliver, and store the documents in question. Okay, so that's the logical flow of the application. Before you can really connect or get data from Dynamics in our systems, what you need to do is set up a couple of connectors. That's what we did over here. We set up a connector to SharePoint, we set up a connector to Microsoft Dynamics 365, and we set up a connector to DocuSign. You saw me use these connectors throughout the session. Setting up connectors is super easy. It's just it makes use of OAuth 2 authentication, and it's just a matter of logging onto your system, and it's going to create an access token for you, and so on and so forth. So no kind of weird things there. We connect in a secure way. So that's how that all goes. Once you're connected, you can start collecting data from the systems that you're connected to and delivering generated documents and other things back to those systems as well. Okay. Collecting data, that's all about creating data sets that really point out which data points you're going to include in the documents that you're going to produce. So let's have a look at the different types of data sets that you have. And I'm just going to create maybe an opportunity data set here. Why not? I'm going to start from the opportunity over here, and just let me find opportunity. There you go. So this gives me an overview of all the entities in Dynamics that I have in this related Dynamics instance that I set up with my connector there. And as you can see, all of my entities are in there. So it's not only the standard entities, it's really all of the entities. So I lost my selection here. Let me just put that back in. There you go. And this is a standard data set. There are other types of data sets. There's also the custom data set and the schema data set, but let's keep it to a standard data set at this point. A standard data set is a data set that's making use basically of a connector, in this case to a CRM system that we have. Okay. Let's build our data set now. So we started from opportunity, so that's what we see over here. And now we can bring up basically all the fields of opportunity. So there you go. These are all my standard fields of opportunity. And I can start selecting those fields or unselecting those fields one by one now. If I don't need certain fields here, I can unclick them, or I can unclick them all at once. Check them back all at once. That's what I can do over here. So let's keep them all in. By the way, there's an auto mechanism, an automatic mechanism to reduce the data sets. We're just going to check which fields are actually used in your flow and in your templates, and then we're going to collect those fields. And the fields that you basically put in here that you're not using, we're going to put those fields aside. We're not going to collect them. That saves a lot of time, of course, but nevertheless, it's still a good thing to keep your data sets as lean and mean as you can possibly do. Not only fields, of course, you can also collect your relationships, many-to-one relationships and one-to-many relationships. Earlier on, we sent an email to an account manager. It went from the quote to the account manager, but here in this case, we go from the opportunity to that same account manager. So what we do here is collect the user entity underneath. And as you saw me click user over here, what actually happened is that the user entity was added to the data set. So now we go from opportunity to user, and that's one level of hierarchy deep at this point. What else do we have? We probably have a potential customer for our opportunity. It can be an account or a contact. In this case, let's pick the account. Let's presume this is a business-to-business scenario. So we pick up the account. So there we go. Let's have another look at what we have in terms of opportunity relationships. Let's have a look at the one-to-many relationships. And maybe we could go and find the opportunity line items. And the good thing here, because there's quite a few one-to-many relationships over here, the good thing is that we can actually search for items. So I could just type line over here. And this is going to bring up the result, and I just simply click opportunity line over here. Okay. Let's get rid of that filtering now. So as you can see, we have opportunity. We go to the user, who is the account manager for this opportunity. We can go to the account that we trigger for this opportunity, then the opportunity lines. Okay, from within the opportunity lines, we could go on and find the related products, for instance. Okay, so by default we have all the fields of opportunity line all selected, and we can go on to find the existing product and drill further on through to the actual product record underneath. If we want to continue building from here, we can perfectly do so. If we want to bring up another many-to-one relationship, say the default price list for this product, we can bring in that price list, and you can keep on building. So there's no stopping you. In fact, I think the current record in terms of levels of hierarchy is more than 31 more than 30 levels of hierarchy deep. So there's no problem. Eventually, there's going to be a performance issue if you just collect your entire CRM database every time you want to run a document. That's going to place quite a heavy burden on the infrastructure, of course. But hey, here you are. So we have built an opportunity data set, standard data set. Just clicked a few items and we just brought it all together. We're going from the opportunity all the way through the price list related to the products of the opportunity lines here. Okay. We can create samples if we want to and everything. And these samples are handy, or they come in handy when you want to do stuff like previewing the templates that you're actually building. Okay. Um, Other things that you can do, for instance, is create those form data sets that we saw earlier on, where you can just instead of clicking fields or selecting fields, you can just bring or create such a form. It's also a very much a point-and-click experience to create such forms. And then you can also bring in what we call schema data sets, and schema data sets are data sets that refer to data that's coming from another system. Okay, and then the idea is that you have a web service, for instance, that you can call during the actual flow that brings in that external data. Now, speaking of flows, because I'm just quickly going to skip templates, because template is just a matter of creating a standard or a composition template where you combine a couple of these data sets, like for instance the opportunity data sets that we have created over here. Call this opportunity template. There you go. And then this is now a template that is making use of that opportunity data set. I can add more data sets, like account with opportunities and so on and so forth. I can combine data sets together. That's exactly how that works. Okay. Okie doke. So that's a template. What I definitely want to show you is I'm just going to leave this, is a flow. And instead of creating a new one, I'm just going to open up one that is already built. For instance, the quote with approval process. So I can actually show you how that thing works. So the flow here is a flow that starts from Dynamics. If you look at where a flow can start, it can start from Dynamics, it can start from another program, that means from code, or if it's a flow that does not require any data except user input, you can start it right from the flow execution panel as well. Okay, this one, like most typical scenario, is coming from Dynamics. And what we're going to do, first of all, is retrieve quote data. There's a data set called quote data, and it collects the data from the selected record, okay, from the selected record over here. Next up, it's going to generate a document making use of the Senlimo Solar quotation template that we have in the system. And it's going to use that data from the retrieve quote data step over here. It's going to use that data to generate a document. It's going to give the document this name, where we refer to the account name as part of the document name. And it's going to collect it as a PDF document, as you can see. And then we have that conditional block in the store and deliver zone, where we are looking at the total amount of the quotation. And if that's more than 50K, then we're going to send out an email to our account manager. So it's from the current user to the account manager, and basically we're just saying this. We're using this text message here, that rich text message saying, "Hi, please approve the attached quotation, thanks," and attach the document that we generated over here. If it's false, so if our quote is less than 50, we're going to send it to DocuSign, and we're going to create a note straight away. The cool thing here with the DocuSign step is that you can actually say here, well, continue flow only when all signers have taken action. So this makes your flow stay or maintain its pending state until the signer or signers have taken action and actually signed the document. And then it continues. And what happens over here is that we have our note where we pick up the signed document, and it's going to basically generate this note regarding the record that started the entire process with this title and that description. That's what you basically saw happening at the beginning of the session today. Good news is that we can track everything that happens. So if you look at reporting, then you can see what happens or what happened today on this and earlier on in this project. So you see that we have been quite successful lately with running flows in this project, and you can see which flows are the most popular flows, which users have been quite busy, which users haven't, and everything else. Whenever something went wrong, I don't know if there's stuff that went wrong. Yeah. Here you see that there was an error at this point, so we can have a look at it. You can actually drill in, and you can see that something went wrong here, retrieving external product data from our URL. Okay, and something went wrong there earlier on. All right, So before we take it back for some Q&A, I just want to take a last second here to show you something else, and that is template design. Just a couple of things in terms of template design. What I want to show you is how you can actually, I'm going to move this thing out of the way, how you can map fields in a template, how you can create a loop, and how you can create a condition. So that should be doable in 5 minutes. So you see our template over here. This is one of the templates that we used during the quotation today. If you want to map something in the template, you basically go and find your data sets. This is the results of creating such a data set like we did before. And then if you create a template and you open it up in Word, then basically this is what you see. You see the different data sets over here, and then you can start mapping items from those data sets. Okay. Now, so let's have a look. We have our Dynamics data set, which is called quote data small. And I think if I take it from here to my actual customer, my potential customer, where is my potential customer? It's over here. It's an account, and we have the account name over here. Cool thing as well is that we have this field inspector. If you create a sample, then it's going to use that sample. So a sample for your data set is going to use that sample. It's going to check what the value is for the highlighted field for that in that particular sample that you're using. And then when you map an item, and mapping is just a matter of double-clicking a field, and then it's going to end up in cursor position. If you highlight the field, you can see what the value is for that field. That's handy. Like if you're wondering, well, should I map account or account name or account number? You can actually see that account number in this case has no result, but you probably see that account name is the field that you want to map over here. Okay, so mapping a field, straightforward. Just double-click it from your Dataset tab, and it'll end up in cursor position. Conditional stuff. Say that you want to only show this mapping in the entire block over here, provided that your customer lives in Canada, for instance. How would you do that? Well, it's a three-step process. First thing is you find a field that you want to use in your condition, and that's like, for instance, address one country region, and you can see that the value here in this case is USA. So let's have a look. Let's do that condition. So the first step is select the field that you want to use in your condition. Step 2, select the part in the canvas that you want to use or that you want to make conditional, and then step 3 is hit the condition icon. This will bring up the condition wizard, where you can actually choose what you want to do. Check whether a field has a specific value. That seems like the thing that we want to do. And the field that we want to use in that condition is the one that we highlighted over here. It's already there. If you didn't select it, or if you haven't selected it, you can still do it over here. We're going to use the field as text, and we're going to say equal to Canada. There you go. Whoops. And now, only in case this field has the value Canada, the entire block that we selected over here will show up. And it will say address one country equals Canada. If I look at my mapping tab over here, it will now show the entire block here in a conditional statement that says address one country equals Canada. By the way, you can give this another name, and you can call this only for Canadians. There you go. That's helpful. I mean, like 3 months up the road, if you come back here and you want to understand what you did here in terms of conditions, then you can use that. Okay. Let me just do a quick loop to end the session here, because I'm aware of the time. We have 5 minutes left, and I want to give you some time to ask some questions if some have popped up. So let's have a look. Let's quickly do a loop over here. Typically, a loop would be something you do in a table, but you can perfectly loop paragraphs, or you can perfectly loop bullet points or numbered lists and everything. So those are all things that you can easily build up using Xpertdoc Template Builder. Let's have a look. What you would typically do in such a table is use your first row for some headers, like the product name, and then quantity, price per unit, and total. There you go. And what you would do typically in the second row is map a few items. So let's have a look. We're starting from our quote, and we're going to our quote details. So let's have a look. We have 4 quote details in this sample. So let's have a look and see what we're going to map over here. So we have existing product, and that drills through to the actual product, and there we can put the product name. Should be in here somewhere. Name. There you go. And we can see that what the products are in terms of naming. Okay. So let's put those names in there. There you go. That's one item mapped. Let's do the quantities. Quantities are not on the existing product level, but they're on the line item level, of course. So let's have a look and see where the quantity is. There you go. Those are my quantities. Price per unit. There you go. And total amounts. The total amounts are actually in a field called extended amount. That's something you just need to know. There you go. So we have name, we have quantity, we have price per unit, and we have extended amount. We can do some formatting on those items real quickly. So let's open up those mappings. And for instance, our quantity, we can indicate that our quantity is actually a number. And we can say, we're going to go and select that we do not want any decimal places here, or maybe use 1,000 separator. Price per unit, let's indicate that this is a currency, and that our currency symbol that we want to use is the dollar symbol, for instance. So there you go. And let's do 2 decimal places, put the currency symbol in front, use 1,000 separator, and there you go. Okie dokie. And as a matter of fact, let me get back in there. What I can do now is I can save that formatting as dollar sign style, something like that. What I can do at this point is just go on and right-click another mapping and say assign Xpertdoc style and say dollar sign style. And there you go. And now this will be also formatted in that style. Now, how do I do my loop? And that's my final point here today. How do I create that loop? Well, once again, it's going to be a 3-step process. Step 1 is you select the part of your canvas that you want to repeat for every iteration of a repeating element in your data set, so one too many. And then the second thing is basically that you look for something that repeats, like quote detail in this case. As you can see, it repeats 4 times. So quote detail is the thing that you want to select over here as a repeating element. Okay. Step 1, select the item you want to repeat. Step 2, select something that repeats in your data set. Step 3, hit loop, and you basically have created a loop. If you look at the mapping tab right now, you'll see that you have a loop on quote detail that contains all of those items that we have put in there. Okay. The good thing is that at any point you can preview what your document would look like. So let's give it a second here to run that preview. Where are we? Where did we run it? It looks like it fell asleep somehow. Anyways, I lost it, but we're a little bit out of time as well right now. So rather than wait for the preview here to appear, I'm going to pass it on to you guys for some questions, maybe.
All right, thank you, Erwin. And yeah, if you have questions, please do enter them into the Q&A block. We're happy to take as many as we have time for here. Erwin, one question that just came in asking what kind of pricing structure do you offer?
Oh yeah, if you look at the pricing, basically what we look at, so we have a model where you, I think I actually have a slide on that, so I can maybe bring this one up here real quickly. There's an Xpertdoc for business pricing and an Xpertdoc enterprise pricing, and so the for business pricing has 3 tiers: a standard tier, a premium tier, and an ultimate tier, and depending on the functionality that you need. you're moving up the ladder. We're looking at functionality. That's one thing. Now, everything you saw me do today is part of the standard and premium tier, so no worries there. It's not like you're immediately in ultimate. But it also depends really on the deployment method that you're looking for. If you want to run your environment on dedicated infrastructure, then you're looking at the ultimate edition of the business tier, and onwards, obviously, the enterprise tier is also fully on dedicated infrastructure. Another aspect that we look at in terms of pricing is the number of users that you want to give access to the document generation solution, and then the final aspect is the number of documents that you want to produce. So depending on all of those factors, you're either a standard, premium, ultimate, or enterprise tier.
Okay, another question. Can this be scheduled as an overnight job to process a bulk set of records?
In the enterprise offering, that's perfectly possible. So obviously that's something that we usually do on dedicated infrastructure. It's not something that we really allow on the standard and the premium tiers, just because of the resources that these bulk jobs may take. But yeah, absolutely, you can schedule your batches and run them overnight if you're looking at the enterprise, the ultimate and enterprise offerings there.
All right, let's make a final call for questions. Just to remind folks, we have recorded today's event, and we'll be sharing details on that very soon. And I am not seeing any other questions, so I think we can begin wrapping up. Owen, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having us, Jason.
All right. With that, we will conclude today's event. Thanks for attending, and have a nice day.